Well, hello there, people, friends, countrymen, other countrymen, I don't know, whoever y'all are. Welcome back to my channel. I know I've been kind of missing in action lately for a while, and I'm not even going to apologize for it because I've just been living my life and some shit's been happening. And I thought I'd get you caught up. And what am I doing today? I am in here on my bed because I am too tired to sit anywhere else. And there probably is a nap in my very near future. Where to start with all that's happening in my life, has been happening in my life. Well, first off, I guess I start with is the bad news. I guess I don't know. It's not. It's news. It is news. It could be viewed as bad news. I mean, how to put it? How to dance around the subject here. If you've been with me for a while, and I just had a cat come up on the bed, Mr. Henry, and he is going to get into my business probably and make a mess and bump the camera numerous times. Hi, Henry. But speaking of animals that I share my home with and my life with, if you've been with me a while, you probably have seen and have heard stories about my old dog Cass and Castiel, named after the supernatural. Henry is bumping the camera. The supernatural character. And I won't bury the lead here. He passed away about a month ago. And so that was one of the things that I have been handling, processing, and was handling and processing prior to his passing. And all the cats are going crazy right now. As I said, he would have been 15 this summer, a couple months from now. And he just quickly started to fail physically and even a little mentally over his last couple weeks. And I made the difficult decision that all of us pet owners, sorry, Henry, but I don't need you bumping that. All of us pet owners at some point have to make, and that is when it's time to say goodbye. And I've had to make that decision a number of times in the past. And I decided that in some ways sooner was better than later with him, because I knew at 14 and a half years old there was no getting better. His arthritis was causing him problems. He had had a couple falls off of the steps, coming up and down the steps, coming in and out of the house. He was starting to get incontinent, and he was having like signs of sundowners, for lack of a better term. At night he would get very agitated. If he couldn't find me, he would get agitated. It was harder and harder to leave him alone for longer periods of time. And in order to preserve his dignity and to make sure that he went out with some semblance of peace and as little pain and trauma as possible, I made the decision. It's been almost a month now, or about at least a month now, and I was able to be with him. And I have a wonderful vet here that, obviously hadn't been his vet for a long time, but still cared for him in a way like almost no vet I've ever had in the past, that even vets that had been my animal's vet for their entire life. So I feel very at peace with the whole thing, but I did want to share that with you, that we will not have him panting and tippy-tapping around on the wood floors in the background of my videos any longer. And I miss him, but I knew it was coming. So that is the first big bit of life update for everyone. And then the other is I've just been really busy with things. I have been helping my friend at her business here in Selma Monday through Thursday over the lunch hour helping her serve lunches. Now, it's an interesting concept, and I've never experienced this concept before. So I'll kind of explain what we're doing. She's doing. She's an artist. Her space is her artist studio. In the prior 2 years, she had opened her studio space up. It's an old Woolworths building for a visiting artist every month, and she would have a reception for them, and then they would be the artist of the month, and they would bring their art and have a gallery show and have an evening opening with food and drink and companionship and congregation and community, and then their artwork would be displayed throughout the month. They'd also paint the front window with an original piece of artwork, and it was a very interesting concept, and it brought artists and people in the community together. 2024, she wanted to do something different, and she had finished a space in her building as a commercial kitchen space. And so for 2024, she's featuring culinary arts. And every month we have a visiting chef in residence that comes, and she has Airbnbs on the second floor of this building that are lovely. And they stay in the Airbnb for the month, and they provide Monday through Thursday, each day, one plate of food, one dish, and everybody gets the same dish. And it's been extremely successful. And this month, today was the fourth day in the row of our new chef for the month of May. And for the third day, we sold out by noon, in an hour, because we're there from 11 to 2, and we have sold out over 50 to 60, today almost 70 plates in an hour. And so it's a lot of work. I don't do anything in the kitchen other than grab a plate and bring it to a table if they're busy, or mostly lately I have been the hostess and cashier and greeter and that kind of thing, and also bussing tables and cleaning. Everybody just kind of lends a hand, and whoever's working gets done what needs to be done. It's been wonderful. It's given me an opportunity to meet and get to know more of the locals in the area. But also, we have here in Selma, especially this time of year, quite a few tourists that come through. So I have talked with people, fellow Midwesterners, and people from Europe and Asia and all around the country who have come to tour our civil rights locations throughout the South: Birmingham, Montgomery, Selma, Atlanta, Memphis, etc. And bus loads of tourists and individuals and couples and things like that. So it's a really nice thing for me to talk with people and get to share my story and hear their stories, what brought them to Selma. So I've enjoyed it, but some days like today, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted when I got home. So I have been helping her do that for the last few months. So my weekdays are busy, but I've also been doing a lot of creating and making, and I just have not been really filming it. Some of it I've filmed and I haven't gotten around to editing it and getting it up. But the final point of my personal update for y'all today is that I have also been, I'm going to use the word, what word do I know what words I don't want to use. I don't want to use the word struggle, and I'm not really a fan of the word of dealing with, but I've been working through some of my own personal mental health issues, I guess is the best way to put it. And I am not shy about sharing my mental health challenges that I have had over the years, and I can cope with them usually very well. And as I've gotten older, hormones change, lifestyle changes, some things have gotten easier, but it also has brought to light other aspects of, it's my mailman's here. Okay. Well, since my change of living circumstances and moving here to Selma and living alone and having a lot more freedom with my time, it's brought to light different aspects that I had maybe ignored or not been aware of in the past. I've always really tended to focus more on the depression side of my mental health than the whole spectrum of things, stuff and things. And since living alone and, like I said, having more control over my personal time and energies, and as I've gotten older, I'm noticing different patterns that maybe I had missed in the past. I did decide, I had a 6-month checkup with my GP here a week or so ago, and I decided to talk with her about these issues and say, this is how I've handled them in the past. This is how doctors have prescribed for me and whatever. But we've always just focused on the depression side, because when the depression side rears its ugly head, that's when things got scary. That's when things got like really hard to just function. And I just wanted to get out of that phase as fast as possible. But now I am realizing that there is the other end of the spectrum as well. And that is almost affecting me as much or more than the depressive side of things. Because now when I get into a depressive mode, I just go to bed and I hermit myself away from people until I feel better. And I also know the things that I need to do. I know I need a certain amount of sleep. I know I need a certain, diet in order to keep myself energized. I know that my social battery wears out a lot quicker. I know all these things, and I have the latitude in order to work around them. But when the other end of the spectrum hits, I just go, I was going to use a term that might not be very face or YouTube friendly. I go all out, pedal to the metal. And then, because as my body has gotten older, I crash and burn. And even though I may still emotionally and energetically want to do all the things, make all the things, be with all the people, go to all the events, paint all the walls, dig up all the gardens, demo the bathrooms, and get on the ladders and all the things, my body says, you can't do all that. You can't do all of that in 1 week and still have any energy left to do anything else. So then I still have to go back to bed, and I still have to shut myself away. But then it bothers me because I want to be getting this stuff done. And I know that inevitably the other end, the pendulum's going to swing the other way, and I will not have the motivation and the desire to do these things. So I'm like, I need to smooth some things out and even some things out and get some answers. I have people who are very close to me who have had official diagnoses of spectrum disorders, neurodivergencies, ADHD, autism spectrum, and also some pretty serious mental health diagnoses as well, like bipolar and depression, and working with them as their loved one. I have witnessed their symptoms, their behaviors, and am now recognizing a lot of that in myself. So I am not going to self-diagnose. I am not going to use an Instagram meme or TikTok to diagnose what I think might be what's going on with me. I have an appointment to talk to a professional psychiatric person who will help me work through this situation. So I encourage anyone who is watching this who has felt the same way, either end of that spectrum, whichever way the pendulum is swinging for you, to have no shame, ask for help. when I have told like my daughters and other friends that I've done this, that I'm doing this, that this is where I'm at, they've all been extremely encouraging and supportive. So there's no shame. If I was having symptoms of, you know, diabetes or, you know, heart problems or something like that, and I went to my doctor and said, this is happening to me, can I get my blood tests and find out, my, you know, is my thyroid wacky, am I diabetic, is this whatever, there would be no shame in that either. So I love that we have come around as a society now that we can talk honestly and openly about our mental health issues. I've said in the past, I will die with depression and mental health issues, but I refuse to die from it. It'll probably be something, I mean, it doesn't go away. It's my brain chemistry, it's my body chemistry, it's how I am. But I will not die from it. I refuse, but I will die with it. And I'm going to try to have the best life I can and work with people who will help me, and also give myself the grace that this has to happen. So that is that. I did not bring my latest projects to share with you in here with me today. I was going to, but I came in here and I laid down, and now there's a cat on my lap. And we all know, all of us cat people know, that once the cat settles in on your lap, that's where you are. There's no getting up. There's no moving. There's no until he decides to move. So I'm here for the duration. So I'll share those in another video with you when I have better lighting that I can bring them by an open window and really show you. But what I have been doing, I'll show you the details in another video, or at the end of this video if there's time, when the cat moves. But I've been doing a lot of hand stitching. I've also been doing a little sewing in the sewing room with the sewing machine, with some fun projects as well. And I do have a couple videos that I've started on those that never got edited or finished because the way my brain's been working. But I've been hand stitching. My sister turned me on to two different forms of hand embroidery. And I have hand embroidered since I was a kid. And I'll tell you a little story about that in my origin story in a second. But she started doing thread painting. And I had done thread painting with my machine, free motion thread painting, many years ago when I was doing a lot more art quilting. And like I said, I've done all kinds of hand work, all kinds of hand embroidery in the past as well. Lots of cross stitch. Went through a huge cross stitch stage there. And, but also silk ribbon embroidery and just things. But I was like, oh, I love the work, the pieces that she was doing. And then of course I went down a Pinterest, YouTube rabbit hole on that. And I started a few pieces with that and found it fun and interesting, but slow, which ironically brought me to the next type of hand stitching, which is slow stitching, which is slow, which is the whole point of it. It's not really the point of it is not to make something at the end, like I am making XYZ and I'm going to slow stitch it. It's just grab some random fabrics, collage them together, and just stitch on them and sit there. And it's more the process. The joy is in the journey. And I have been really enjoying that because I can pick it up and do a little bit at a time. I don't have to be like, oh, what color's next? Or what part of this painting this piece am I working on? I can just go, oh, I'm going to put some running stitch here. I'm going to do some bullion stitches here. I'm going to do some French knots there. And just kind of, fart around and figure it out. And it's been really enjoyable. But here's where I am right now. I'm going to turn the camera around and show you what's on my bed and what my slow stitching project for today is that will not involve a needle. It's just all about the thread today. Oh, are you going to leave me, Henry? Or are you just going to move and get in my way? He's going to move and bump the camera is what he's going to do. Anyway, and for you embroiderers, especially you cross stitchers out there that have a lot of 6-strand, just DMC floss or other brands of floss, how do you organize your floss? Because I am chaotic mess when I'm in the process of, sorry, he's making biscuits on my thigh and it hurts because he's got little claws. Ouch. When I'm in the process of a project, it's chaos. It's goblin mode. There's stuff everywhere. And if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen the photos that I have shared of my eclectic mess right at the moment. But I also really love to have my stuff really organized. And so that when I want, I'm like, oh, I know I have this tool, this material, this thing, and I know exactly where to go find it. It hasn't quite gotten to that point here at this house because I just haven't. I've organized my things a few times, but then I've changed my organization a few times as well, and I've moved rooms. This is supposed to be my studio, and it's my bedroom now. And anyway, so I want to know how you, if you are a stitcher with a plethora of threads, how you organize your threads. Because basically, well, I guess there's three ways. Just throw them in a basket, a bowl, a jar, a box, and just dig through until you find what you want. That would be one way. Wouldn't be really organizing them. It's how you store them. That's true chaos goblin mode. I could not live like that. I have too many, first of all, that I would never find the one I want. But the basic two organizational modes are you buy all the same brand of floss. And here in the United States, it's probably DMC because it's the easiest to get and the most common one used in patterns and things. And then you would organize them by the number. Each one has a color number. And you'd put them in the box in numerical order. And so when your pattern says this number, that number, that number, you can go into your box and find the number of the thread that matches your pattern and use it to stitch. That is how I had always organized my thread because I, at the time, was doing a lot of charted cross-stitch patterns. And that's how the patterns would come out. And then I would know if I had the right thread number or not, and then I could order it or get it or whatever. That works if that's how you stitch. I have really moved away from stitching that way. And so the other way is to organize them by color. And here's a funny story. At some point during the COVID time, the dark times of 2020, I don't know what I was working on, but I think I was doing a little bit of stitching at that time. And I got my boxes out. I wasn't using a pattern that, called for certain numbers. So I said, oh, I just want the greens. But I had all three boxes had different greens in them in different places. So I organized all of my threads by color. I also was probably watching that organization show that was on Netflix. The two gals, are they sisters? I think they're sisters. To do everything by rainbow color. They organize bookshelves by rainbow color. They organize pantries by rainbow color. They have jars of candy organized on the shelf by rainbow color. Everything is rainbow color in their world. And I thought, well, that makes more sense. Because that's how, at the time, I had my fabrics organized, was by rainbow color. At least my quilt fabrics. Because again, if you're going to make a quilt, you want to, you pull out all your blues. And I'm going to make a blue quilt. Anyway, I had redone all my threads that way. But then when I started the thread painting last summer, I had a book and I had some other patterns that I had acquired through Etsy or whatever. And they, of course, had thread numbers, color numbers, because they were written patterns. And a lot of pattern follower people want more detail than, get browns in three colors that gradient. Some people who work with color a lot can just pick three browns that work together to make this. But other people, especially when it's a published book or a published pattern, they want their hands held. I get that. totally understand that. So at some point, I reorganized again by color number. And I'm going to show you here now the bins, thingies, organizations of thread, of embroidery floss. I also have pearl cottons and silks and things like that elsewhere. But these are my pearl cotton, or my regular stranded floss. And they're back in color number, number order. Here's the problem. One box, the numbers go from low to high, low to high, low to high, or they go like this. I don't know, because when I was looking for number colors the other day, they were all weird. And then the other box maybe goes, left to right, or left to right from the back. They weren't organized even properly. So today I am going to sit here with the cat on my lap because he settled back in again. And I don't know if I'm just going to dump them on the bed. I thought I was going to go get like bowls or jars and like go through and put all the reds in a jar. Go through, put all the oranges in a jar, all the yellows, pinks, etc. And then put them in these bins, go through all the reds, put them in the bin. But I don't want to go do that. I want to sit here on the bed where it's comfortable. And I almost think the chaos to organization idea of dumping and then organizing feels right to me. I think that's what I'm going to do. So that's where my brain has been lately. That's where my body has been lately. And what's kind of going on in the background here. And I thought I'd get on here real quick and share that with you. And then hopefully I will be further motivated to share some of the projects that I filmed and didn't get to edited together. So I don't know how cohesive they will be. And some new stuff, because I do have some other new stuff showing. And I just, I wasn't there to be able to I didn't have the bandwidth to stay with y'all. But I appreciate all of you who have stayed with me, have waited patiently for another video to come out, and I have some new followers that discovered me right before I went missing. So I hope you put on notifications and will know that this video is there, because I'm sure the algorithm will ignore me now, whatever that means. And there was a time a month ago, right around when I was going through everything with Cass, that I was like, I think I'm just gonna pull the plug on my YouTube channel. I wasn't feeling it, but I think I've had a little bit of an attitude adjustment about the whole thing, and I'm just gonna do what feels right when it feels right to do it. I'm not making money on it. I have a healthy amount of followers, and if you want more and you're there for me, I appreciate that. And if I'm not your cup of tea, or you want more involvement, more consistency, or me to continue, I just jump all over the place. I had a whole bunch of garden stuff that I was going to share with y'all, and it's all just, the garden's out there. So if you want to see how the flowers are doing, I'll share that in a future video, because some of them, they're blooming, they're looking good. I mean, they're getting there, and my tomatoes are out of this world. They haven't started producing yet, but they're growing like crazy. So, ouch, cat. This cat is like putting his claws right into my thigh. Ow. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. I will check in with you guys at a future date and show you physically some of the things that I have been making and doing, growing, and everything. So, thanks again. Talk to you soon.